My mother tried to erase my fiancé from my life while I was blowing out birthday candles. She did not whisper gossip or make sly comments. She hired a locksmith, packed his things into cardboard boxes, and texted eviction instructions to a group chat she thought was private. She meant to send them to my sister. Instead, she sent them to my fiancé. So while everyone at the restaurant clapped and shouted for me to make a wish, my phone buzzed on the table beside the cake. My fiancé's eyes went to the screen first. I watched the color drain from his face the way transmission fluid drains out of a cracked line, slow at first, and then all at once. "Jordan," he whispered, holding out the phone to me. "You need to see this." The message stared back at me, glowing under the string lights. "Group chat, better future plan. From Mom. While everyone is at the party, get his stuff out. Change the locks on Jordan's condo. Make sure he cannot get back in. He will have no choice but to leave." We moved to phase 2 after that. "Lauren, do it now." Below it, another message sent less than a minute later. "Mom, wrong Lauren. You sent that to Noah. He is standing right here." I did not feel the room tilt. I felt myself tilt like my bones had gone hollow. The people singing, the clinking glasses, the smell of buttercream and barbecue sauce, all of it turned distant, like someone had turned down the volume on my own life. That was the moment my world split clean in two. Before I knew, my mother was planning revenge against a problem that did not exist. And after I found out, she had built an entire operation to dismantle my relationship, my home, and the life I had bled to build. My name is Jordan Blake. I am 30 years old, and I know how to build things from nothing and walk away from anything that tries to burn them down. I own a performance tuning and repair shop just outside Dallas. Not a cute side hustle in a rented storage unit. A real shop. A wide metal building with 4 bays lifts that groan when they rise, alignment machines, and a waiting room that smells like coffee and brake cleaner. I crawled my way here, one busted knuckle at a time. I grew up watching my dad fix things in the driveway while my mom watched home renovation shows and muttered about bigger houses and better neighborhoods. I learned early that the sound of an engine finally catching after hours of chasing a problem is its own kind of prayer. I went to trade school instead of the 4-year college my mother dreamed about. She called it throwing away my brain. I called it refusing to take on a mountain of student debt to sit in fluorescent classrooms while someone else lived my life. For years, I worked 6-day weeks at other people's shops. I saved every spare dollar, skipped vacations, skipped trendy dinners, skipped anything that did not move me closer to my own bay doors. By my mid-20s, I had scraped together enough for a down payment on a beat-up commercial property and signed a small business loan that made me want to throw up from fear and excitement. I slept on a cot in the office. I ate vending machine dinners. I scrubbed floors and rebuilt engines and convinced fleet managers to give the new girl a shot. Somewhere along the way, people stopped calling me the girl in the shop and started calling me the owner. That shop paid for my condo. A 2-bedroom, 2-bath place in a decent area, fully in my name. My title, my risk, my reward, my revenge against every voice that said a woman in a hoodie with grease under her nails would never make it. And then there was Noah. Noah Reyes was the steady, quiet kind of man who did not flinch around strong women. He worked in cybersecurity for a financial services firm downtown. He liked puzzles, black coffee, and Sunday night football. He read every torque spec on the box instead of eyeballing it. He was the first man I ever dated who did not act like my success was something he had to compete with. We met at a backyard cookout hosted by my best friend Mia. I showed up in my work jeans because a customer's truck had fought me all afternoon. He showed up with a store-bought pie and an apologetic smile because he had been called in for an incident response call the night before and had barely slept. He made some dry joke about the Bluetooth speaker cutting out like it had commitment issues. I nearly spit my beer laughing. We tucked ourselves into a corner of Mia's patio and talked for hours about nothing and everything: defensive lines, data breaches, the best breakfast tacos within 20 miles. Our relationship was normal in the best way. Grocery runs, oil changes on Sunday afternoons, frozen pizza on the couch after brutal days. No drama, no constant breakups and makeups, just 2 tired people doing life together. He moved into my condo after a year and a half. I did not charge him fake rent. The mortgage was already paid down. I asked him to cover half the utilities and groceries, and we split extras. That was it. We got engaged 2 years in on a windy overlook at Possum Kingdom Lake. No flash mob, no photographer hiding in a bush. Just Noah Hand's cold voice shaking, asking me if I wanted to keep building a life with him. The ring was simple and solid. White gold, a single stone that caught the light without screaming about itself. I said yes before he finished the sentence. From the outside, it looked like the opposite of a revenge story. No betrayal, no cheating, no inheritance war. Just two people climbing together. But underneath, my mother was already planning a different ending. And the night she hit send on the wrong name, she pulled the curtain off everything. My mother, Diane, likes control the way I like impact wrenches. She grew up poor in a small town in Oklahoma, married my dad right out of high school, and never stopped feeling like life had cheated her out of something grand and shiny. She works part-time at a dental office now in Arizona since they moved there after my sister and I left home. She sends me articles with subject lines like 10 signs your partner is using you and why women must protect their assets at all costs. Some of that I agreed with. I had watched my uncle lose half his business in a messy divorce. I believed in prenups and separate bank accounts and understanding the numbers. I believed in revenge against unfair systems by beating them at their own game. But my mother and I did not agree on what protection looked like. When I told her about Noah, she made the usual mom noises. How does he treat you? Does he respect your work? Does he make good money? Are you sure he is not looking at your shop as his retirement plan? At first, I brushed it off. She worries, I told myself. She never had the security I am building, so she expects everyone to take advantage of me. Then she started asking more pointed questions. Does he know how much you make? Does he know the shop's books? Is his name going on the deed for the condo? Did he offer to pay more because you own property? I told her we were talking to a lawyer about a prenup before the wedding. Instead of being relieved, she went quiet in that way she has when she is filing away information like evidence. Well, she said finally, at least you are not completely naive. Men get comfortable, Jordan, especially when they move into something they did not help build. I wanted to snap back that Noah had been there through brutal quarters, late-night emergency calls, and every moment when I nearly gave up. That emotional labor counts, that cups of coffee at midnight and rides to the parts store when my truck was in pieces meant something. But I let it go. The first time my parents met Noah, he handled the interrogation better than I did. They flew in for a long weekend and stayed in a mid-range hotel complaining about humidity and traffic like Dallas had personally insulted them. They came to my condo first. My dad hugged me and did a slow, proud spin, taking in the place. My mother looked around like she was evaluating an open house. It is cozy, she said, which in Diane language meant smaller than the fantasy house she had assigned to me. Noah stood up, wiped his hands on his jeans, and offered his hand. It is really nice to meet you, Mrs. Blake. Diane is fine, she said, eyes flicking to his shoes, his watch, his posture, taking inventory. We went to dinner at an upscale steakhouse Noah had insisted on paying for because he wanted to show respect. Halfway through the meal, while my dad talked about football with Noah, my mother cut in, head tilted. So Noah, she said, what exactly do you do again? Cybersecurity, he said, patient. I help financial firms keep their systems from getting hacked. Lots of monitoring and incident response, and trying to stay ahead of people who would love to drain everyone's accounts. Is that lucrative, she asked? Not curious, calculating. It pays well, he said calmly. I felt my shoulders tighten. He is good at what he does, I added. My mom smiled, tight and brittle. I just want to make sure my daughter is not marrying someone who plans to coast. Noah set down his fork. His voice stayed soft, but there was steel under it. I have no intention of coasting on anyone, he said. I have my own career. I am proud of what Jordan has built. I am not threatened by it. For a moment, I wanted to stand up and cheer. My mom's eyes narrowed just a fraction. Of course, she said. Time will tell. That should have been a bigger red flag than I let it be. Calls from her started coming more frequently after the engagement. She wanted to know about budgets, about who was paying for what, whether Noah's family was contributing. She asked if I had thought through what would happen with the shop if we divorced. She used words like betrayal, hidden motives, manipulation. She painted men as predators in button-downs, and women like me as prey too proud to see the trap. The irony, of course, was that the real manipulation, the real betrayal, was already coming from her. I just did not know it yet. If you had asked me before that birthday whether my life made sense, I would have said yes. I woke up before sunrise most mornings, grabbed coffee from the same corner place, drove to the shop while the sky was still a pale gray. I checked work orders, answered emails from fleet managers who needed trucks back on the road, then spent hours under hoods and on computers tuning engines until my shoulders burned. Noah worked long hours too. He was on call for security incidents, which meant his phone could buzz at 2 in the morning because someone's server was under attack. We were both tired most of the time, but it was the good kind of tired, the kind that comes from building something instead of just enduring it. On weekends, we did mundane things: groceries, laundry, cheap tacos, movie nights with Mia and her husband Chris, the kind of evenings where people end up barefoot and sleepy on couches, talking about everything and nothing. Mia had known me since my first year in trade school. She had seen me half delirious crying in the shop bathroom when a customer's check bounced, and I did not know how I would make the loan payment. She had shown up with takeout after long days and threatened to hide my tools if I did not take a day off. When I told her about Noah, she had squinted at me over her coffee mug and said, "If he ever acts weird about your money or your shop, I will change your locks and keep him out myself." Which is funny considering who ended up trying to change them. I told Mia about my mother's questions. About the way Diane talked like Noah was some freeloading stranger sleeping on my couch, instead of the man who cleaned my kitchen at midnight, because I was too exhausted to stand. Mia rolled her eyes so hard I thought she might sprain something. "Your mother is addicted to drama," she said. "If there is no fire, she will light one and then complain about the smoke." "Maybe," I said. "She says she is worried I am too independent, that I will scare him off." "Then he was never the right man," Mia replied. "You do not dim yourself to keep someone else comfortable." Those words stuck with me. They were still echoing in my head the night my mother showed up at my surprise birthday party in Dallas, smiling too wide, hugging me too tightly, and checking her phone like she was waiting for a push notification from fate. Noah told me we were just going out to dinner. Maybe Mia and Chris would join, he said casual. I believed him. I closed the shop a little early, washed my hands 3 times to get rid of the smell of gear oil, and put on a dress that still felt new on my skin. We drove to our favorite barbecue place, the one with the long picnic tables and string lights that made everything look softer. When we walked into the back room and everyone jumped up and shouted, "Surprise!" my heart thudded against my ribs. Mechanics from the shop, friends from high school, Noah's coworkers, customers who had become family. There were banners and balloons and a cake with thick white frosting. And then, like a scene from a show, I did not realize I was starring in my parents, and my younger sister Lauren walked in behind everyone lugging suitcases. I had no idea they were coming. My mother does not do spontaneous cross-state trips. She does carefully planned visits with color-coded itineraries. Seeing her in that doorway with that too bright smile felt like getting hit with warm water and ice at the same time. I hugged Dad first. He smelled like the same aftershave he had worn my whole childhood. Then my mother wrapped her arms around me in a hug that was just a little too tight, like she was measuring my ribs for a cage. "Happy birthday, baby," she said. "This year is going to change everything." Something in her tone made the hairs on my arms stand up. Lauren hugged me next, whispering, "I missed you," into my hair. There was something wild and anxious in her eyes, but before I could ask about it, people pulled me toward the cake, insisting on candles and a wish. The room was full, loud, warm. Noah stood behind me, hands on my shoulders. Mia elbowed Chris so he would sing louder. My mechanics clapped off beat. I stared at the candles and tried to think of a wish that was not just, "Please let my mother behave." I took a breath, ready to blow them out, when Noah's phone buzzed on the table next to mine. He glanced down, then went very still. "Everything okay?" I asked over my shoulder. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. He turned the screen toward me instead. My mother's name at the top of a group chat called Better Future Plan. Her message time-stamped during my own birthday song. "While everyone is at the party, get his things out of Jordan's condo. Change the locks. Make sure his key does not work. He will have to leave." That is when we moved to phase 2. "Lauren, you know what to do." Below it, my sister's reply. "Mom, you texted Noah. He is standing next to Jordan. He can see this." For a second, all I could see were words. Not the people around me, not the candles, not the frosting. Just those lines, like they were carved into my retinas. I looked up. Across the room, my mother stood near the bar, her phone clenched in her hand. She looked at Noah, She looked at me. Color drained from her face. Her jaw tightened the way it did when she burned something in the oven and tried to pretend it was fine. The last candle guttered. Someone cheered. The song ended. My life as I knew it ended with it. Noah leaned in. Jordan, he whispered. What does phase 2 mean? My stomach lurched. I did not know yet, but I knew one thing for sure. Whatever my mother was planning, it was not love. It was not protection. It was revenge against a man who had never wronged her and control over a daughter she did not recognize. And we were about to drive home to see exactly how far she had already gone. We stayed at the party just long enough to avoid causing a bigger scene. I moved through the crowd on autopilot, accepting hugs and jokes and gifts while my brain played that message on loop. Get his things out. Change the locks. Noah kept his hand on my back, like he was afraid I might levitate away. Mia watched us, with sharp eyes catching enough of our expressions to know something was wrong but not pushing yet. My mother hovered near the far wall, checking her phone, whispering furiously to my sister when she thought I was not looking. At one point, Lauren tried to approach me, but my mother grabbed her wrist nails, digging in, and shook her head with a tiny, vicious motion. By the time we finally said our goodbyes and walked out into the parking lot, the Texas night air felt thick and electric. In the truck, Noah handed me his phone again. We read the entire short thread in silence. Better future plan, he said quietly. She made a project out of getting rid of me. My throat was too tight to answer. The drive back to the condo took less than 20 minutes. It felt like hours. City lights blurred past my window. Every worst-case scenario I had ever tried not to think about crowded my mind. What if she had actually done it? What if she had thrown his things into the hallway like he was a tenant she was evicting? What if the revenge in this family drama was not something I got to choose, but something my mother had decided to deliver on my behalf? We pulled into the lot. Noah killed the engine. The silence hummed between us. You ready? He asked. No, I said honestly, but open the door anyway. We climbed the stairs to the second floor. The hallway smelled like someone's overcooked dinner. Our front door with the little welcome mat Noah had insisted on buying looked exactly the same, until my key refused to turn. I frowned, tried again, jiggled the handle, nothing. Let me try, Noah said. He slid his key and turned it. It stopped cold. There is no way, I whispered. Then I saw the boxes. 3 cardboard boxes stacked beside the doorway. My handwriting on the side of one labeling a move from years ago. Through the slightly open top, I could see Noah's gaming console, his heavy flannel jacket, a framed photo of him and his sister from a fishing trip. Behind the curtain of the front window, a shadow moved. The deadbolt clicked from the inside. The door opened. My mother stood there holding my spare key. Behind her, I could see the living room. Our engagement photos were missing from the wall. Noah's tool bag was gone. His suitcase stood by the couch packed. What are you doing? Noah's voice sounded like it had been dragged over gravel. Mom's eyes darted between us. Jordan, she said, ignoring him, you are home early. I moved past Noah, stopped just inside the doorway. The air inside smelled like my citrus cleaner, and a perfume my mother favored. My space, our space, rearranged to look like it had never been his. What did you do? I asked, every word low and quiet. She forced a brittle laugh. Oh, honey, do not be dramatic. We were just… Noah stepped in and pointed at the boxes. You were just what he asked. Packing my things. Changing the locks on a condo that does not belong to you. Creating a little scene where I get locked out like a squatter. Her cheeks flushed. You would have landed on your feet, she said. You are resourceful. You could go stay with a friend. It would be a wake-up call for both of you. My heart pounded so hard I could feel it in my fingertips. My gaze snagged on her phone sitting on the kitchen counter. Screen lit up. A group chat bubble glowed at the top. Better future plan. The same chat Noah had shown me. Do not touch that, my mother snapped as I moved toward it. I looked at her slowly. What are you afraid I will see? She lunged, but I was faster. I scooped up the phone. Her face crumpled into something like panic. On the screen, the group chat was open. 3 participants. My mother, my sister. A number I did not recognize. A name attached to it I knew all too well. Brianna, Noah's ex. A cold wave rolled through me, leaving everything numb and sharp at once. Jordan, please, my mother breathed. This is not what you think. You are going to overreact and ruin your life. I scrolled. Each message was another crack in the version of reality I had been living in. Each line a piece of a secret she had written for my future one, where I lost everything, And she got to say she had been right all along. The earliest messages were from midsummer, months before the engagement party, months before the birthday, months before I thought my mother's disapproval was just a bitter background noise in my otherwise good life. Mom. He is too comfortable. Jordan cannot see it. He has already settled in. You, on the other hand, Brianna, have potential. You understand how to support a man. You are the kind of partner he needs. Brianna, I do not know. It has been years. Why would he even want to talk to me, Mom? Because his relationship is fragile, whether he knows it or not. He is tired. He is underappreciated. She lives at that shop. Once he has a soft place to land, he will see the difference. My stomach twisted. Noah leaned over my shoulder, eyes scanning. His jaw clenched so hard the muscles jumped. Keep going, he said quietly. There were screenshots of bank transfers. Not the images themselves, but my mother had carefully described them, along with gloating emojis that I could almost see even without them on the page. Mom sent you 3,000 for your new place. Start fresh. He will need somewhere peaceful after the breakup. Mom again, another 2.5 for the deposit. You deserve a safe home, not some cramped rental. Mom, 4 more for furniture. Make it welcoming. He should walk in and feel relief. Mom, finally 5.5 to complete everything. This is an investment in my daughter's future. I did the math in my head without meaning to. 15,000 in total. $15,000 of my parents' money funneled into an apartment in Phoenix for my fiancé's ex-girlfriend, not because she needed help, but because my mother wanted to build a replacement life for him. Noah made a small, strangled sound. She paid my ex, he said, like he needed to hear it out loud to believe it. She funded an entire staging area. Bile burned the back of my throat. That is not all, I whispered. Further down, the conversation turned darker, more strategic. This was not worry. This was manipulation dressed up as motherly wisdom. Mom, men are easiest to redirect when they feel blindsided. After the breakup, he will be confused. That is when you move in slowly. Comfort him. Tell him you understand. Tell him you would never put work before love. Brianna, this feels wrong, are you sure, Mom? You are saving him. You are saving my daughter, too. She thinks independence is everything. She does not see how alone she really is. Once she loses him, she will realize her mistake. Or she will double down. Either way, I will be there to pick up the pieces. My vision blurred. I blinked hard. She was using you as revenge against me, I said to Noah. And using me as revenge against some fantasy of a past where she never had choices. Mom reached for my arm. Jordan, stop reading. You are only hurting yourself. You do not understand the big picture. Noah moved between us before she could touch me. Do not put your hands on her, he said, voice low and dangerous in a way I had never heard. My mother's mouth twisted. This is exactly what I am talking about. Look how emotional he is. You cannot build a stable life on someone so reactive. I scrolled back up, thumb shaking. A spreadsheet screenshot filled the screen. Timeline, realignment phase. My mother had laid out a calendar. The party, the lock change, the breakup. A trip Noah apparently would take to Arizona to clear his head. The meetings with Brianna. The eventual move. It was all there. Bullet points and notes and timestamps. This is insane, I whispered. Noah's hand tightened around the back of a chair. She planned to take everything from you, he said. Your relationship, your home, your reputation. He was right. Buried a few messages earlier was another line that made my blood run cold. Mom. If Jordan resists, we may need to accelerate. I can always say she has been unstable lately. People believe mothers. They do not believe girlfriends or fiancés. That was the part that broke something clean in me. Not the money, not the ex. The willingness to paint me as crazy to get her revenge. My mother watched my face as I read. Her expression shifted between panic and a strange righteousness, like a judge handing down a sentence she was sure would be appealed, but confident would hold. I was trying to protect you, she said finally. You have always been too strong for your own good, too independent. You would rather work yourself into the ground than admit you chose the wrong man. I knew you would not leave him on your own, so I had to help. Help, I repeated, my voice shaking. By secretly paying his ex and plotting to lock him out of my home, by planning a confrontation so traumatic he would be ripe for manipulation, By turning my life into some twisted family business merger you could manage like a project. Her eyes flashed. You are blinded by love. You do not see what I see. He lives in your place. He benefits from your hard work. He is getting a free ride. Noah stepped closer. He did not raise his voice. I have never asked Jordan for a cent beyond my share of the bills, he said. I do not want her condo. I do not want her shop. I want a life with her. You invented a danger so you could play hero. Men always say that my mother snapped, until they do not. There it was. The toxic family belief, the inherited fear, the bitterness poured onto everything. It did not excuse anything. It just made the pattern clearer. I took a breath that tasted like metal. What was phase 2, I asked. She hesitated. Tell me the truth, I said, all of it, right now. Her shoulders dropped. For a moment, I saw the tired, angry woman underneath the control. Then she squared them again and made the fatal mistake of believing her own story. Phase 2, she said, was Noah going to Arizona to sort himself out. I would talk to him. I would explain that you are not as committed as he thinks, that you put your business above everything. Brianna would be there, not pushy, just available. It would not have taken long. He would have seen he deserved better. The room went quiet enough that I could hear my own pulse in my ears. Brianna. The number I did not know. The apartment paid for with my parents' money. The brand new life waiting in the desert like a trap baited with empathy and soft lighting. Noah's eyes closed briefly, then reopened hard. Jordan, he said slowly, we need to save all of this. Screenshots, everything. You know that, right? The mechanic in me, the woman who has rebuilt engines from piles of parts, snapped into focus. Yes, I said. We are going to document every word. And then we are going to decide what to do about you, Mom. She flinched at the pronoun as if she was suddenly the child. Do not talk to me like that, she said. I am your mother. You owe me respect. Respect is earned, I replied, not inherited through blood. Right now, all you have earned is distance. Her eyes went wide. You would cut off your own mother over a man. I shook my head. I am cutting off my mother over betrayal, I said. The man is just the proof. And then I did the first thing that truly changed everything. I told her to get out. Get out of my home, I said. The words came out calm and flat, like I was reading a line from a repair manual. Underneath, my heart was racing hard enough to hurt. My mother stared at me like I had slapped her. You do not mean that, she said. You are upset. Later you will thank me for— I will never thank you for this, I cut in. Leave the key on the counter and walk out that door. Her mouth opened and closed. Jordan, sweetheart, think about the inheritance, think about holidays, think about how this will look. People will say you betrayed your family for a man. They will say I raised an ungrateful daughter. I almost laughed. You are the one trying to rewrite the will of my life, I said. If people know what you actually did, I doubt they will call you the victim. Noah stepped closer, his body a solid barrier between us. You need to go, he told her. Right now. If you do not, we will call the police. Police, she repeated, outraged. You would call the police on your own mother? You broke into our home with a copied key, I said. You changed our locks without consent. You tried to evict my fiancé. That is not motherly concern. That is harassment. For a heartbeat, I thought she might dig in refuse force a standoff that ended with uniformed officers in my hallway. But then she saw the look on my face, the way my hand hovered near my phone. She dropped the key on the counter. The clink sounded louder than any slammed door. You are making a terrible mistake, she said, voice trembling with fury. You will regret this. Maybe, I said. But it will be my mistake, not yours. She stormed past Noah and yanked the door open. Her perfume trailed behind her like a cloud of denial. The door slammed. The new silence felt heavy and fragile. For a few seconds, neither of us moved. Then Noah took the phone from my hand gently. We are backing all of this up, he said. Right now, before she finds a way to delete it. We spent the next hour taking screenshots, forwarding messages to ourselves, saving them in multiple places. I could feel the anger rising in layers, the immediate shock, the deeper betrayal, the years of being told my instincts were wrong, because she was the mother, and mothers always know. By the time I texted Mia and asked her to come over, my hands were still shaking, but my mind felt razor sharp. Mia showed up in sweatpants and a messy bun toolbox in hand, like she was arriving for a late-night emergency repair. What the hell happened, she demanded as soon as she stepped inside. We told her everything. The party, the message, the boxes, the group chat, the money, the phase 2 plan. The way my mother had used words like betrayal and manipulation while committing both. Mia's face went through shock, fury, and a kind of vicious amusement. Well, she said finally, first things first, we are changing these locks. It is almost 1 in the morning, I said weakly. Your point, she replied, already digging out a new deadbolt. Diane made copies of your key. That is stage 1 of crazy. Stage 2 is showing up at 3 in the morning with a casserole and a lecture about how you ruined her life. Noah actually laughed. The sound came out cracked, but it was there. It loosened something in my chest. So we changed the locks right then under the yellow glow of the hallway light. Noah held the flashlight from his phone. I handed Mia screws. She unscrewed the old deadbolt with the kind of efficiency I had only ever seen her use on seized bolts before. When we slid the new one into place and the bolt clicked, it felt like more than metal against metal. It felt like a line drawn, a boundary, a barrier between the toxic family expectations I grew up with and the new life I was building. Mia bagged the old lock like evidence. So, she said, waving the little plastic bag. What is the plan? Pure revenge, legal smackdown, moving to another state and changing your names, Lawyer Noah said quietly before I could answer. We need to know what this counts as. We need protection in case she escalates. Mia nodded. Good, because this is not just family drama. This is unhinged. After she left, Noah and I lay in bed, eyes open, staring at the ceiling. Every creak of the building made my muscles tense. But the new deadbolt held. The night passed without another knock. At dawn, I finally said what had been sitting solid and cold in my chest. I am going to confront her, I whispered. Properly, with everything, not just as her daughter, as someone she tried to destroy. Noah turned onto his side, tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. You are not doing it alone, he said. I have to, I replied. You and I will handle everything else together. But this conversation, I need her to hear me without you as her scapegoat. He studied my face for a long moment, then he nodded. I will be downstairs, he said. If you need me, text me one word and I will be at your side in less than a minute. I believed him, which is more than I could say about my mother. The hotel lobby smelled like burnt coffee, an industrial carpet cleaner like every mid-range place my parents had ever stayed on long drives. My mother sat at a small round table near the breakfast buffet, ankles crossed, hands wrapped around a mug she was not drinking from. For a heartbeat, I saw her the way I did when I was a kid, pretty polished, always in control. Then I remembered the group chat named Better Future Plan, and the line about people always believing mothers over girlfriends, and whatever softness remained burned away. She stood up when she saw me. Jordan, thank goodness, she said, reaching for a hug. I held up a hand. Sit, I said. We are not doing that. Her eyes flashed, but she sat. I set my phone on the table and hit record. I am documenting this conversation, I said. If you want to leave, now would be the time. She recoiled. You cannot record your own mother. That is a violation of trust. You already violated trust, I said. This is insurance. She swallowed. You are being dramatic. I leaned back. Explain it to me then. Calmly. Rationally. Why did you pay my fiancé's ex $15,000 and orchestrate an entire operation to break us up? Her gaze flicked to my phone, then back to my face. I was protecting you, she said. No one else was willing to tell you the truth. You get stubborn, you dig in, you ignore red flags when you are in love. Someone had to step in. What red flags, I asked. Be specific, facts only. She blinked. He moved into your condo. He is not on the deed. He is benefiting from all your hard work without equal risk. He offered to pay more, I said. I said no because I own the place, and I like my financial life structured a certain way. That is not him being a leech. That is me being smart. She waved a hand. He should have insisted. So you wanted him to overrule my boundaries, I said slowly, to prove he is not using me. Diane faltered for the first time. That is not what I meant, she snapped. Men should provide. A man who accepts your generosity is comfortable taking advantage. I thought of Noah packing his lunches to save money, of him insisting on paying for dinners, out of him buying parts for my old truck just because he wanted it to run smoother. He has never once asked for my shop, my condo, or my bank account, I said. You made up a fantasy where he drains me because you regret your own marriage. That is not intuition. That is projection. Her nostrils flared. If I had had someone to protect me when I was your age, my life would be different. I will not apologize for trying to protect you from the same mistakes. You are not protecting me, I said. You are punishing me for not living the life you wanted. You are taking revenge on a man who never hurt you because you feel like you never got to choose. She leaned forward. You are too independent, too busy. You do not know how to prioritize a relationship. You think your business will keep you warm when you are old. Actually, I said calmly, yes. It will keep me housed and fed and safe. And so will the man I chose who respects the fact that I have a life outside of him. Her lip trembled. I saw how tired he looked, how distant. You were losing him. I had to give him an exit. By lying to Brianna, I asked. By telling her he was unhappy with me, by painting me as selfish and neglectful. She looked surprised that I knew that piece. Then she smoothed her expression. Brianna is a good girl, she said, soft, traditional. She would put him first. And I am what I asked. Hard on feminine and inconvenience. You are stubborn, she said. You think you do not need anyone. You act like the world owes you nothing, and you owe it nothing either. That is not how good relationships work. Maybe not, I said, but it is how healthy boundaries work. I slid a small thumb drive across the table. This, I said, contains everything. Every message, every transfer, every line where you suggested making me look unstable, so I would seem like the problem. If you ever try to twist this story and tell people I cut you off for no reason, or if you ever harass Noah again, my lawyer will use this. Her face went pale. Lawyer, she whispered. Jordan, you would drag your own mother into court? If you force me to, I said. Tears filled her eyes. Once that might have unraveled me. You will forgive me eventually, she said. You always do. You are my daughter. You cannot stay mad forever. I felt something in my chest settle like a final bolt tightening on a rebuilt engine. No, I said softly. I am done forgiving people who are not sorry. I am done sacrificing my peace at the altar of being a good daughter. I stood up. This is the last time we speak, I said. Do not call. Do not text. Do not show up at my home or my shop. If you do, it will not be a family discussion. It will be legal. Jordan, she said, voice breaking. If you walk away from me, you are throwing away your inheritance, your support system, your place in this family. I thought of the condo I had bought on my own, the shop I had built, the friends who showed up with toolboxes at 1 a.m, the man waiting in the truck outside ready to stand beside me whether I was winning or losing. I am not throwing away anything, I said. I am choosing myself. That is the only inheritance I need. Then I walked out of the lobby into the bright Arizona sun and felt something inside me unlock the way a seized bolt finally gives after months of corrosion. Noah was waiting at the truck, hands on the steering wheel, eyes on the door. When he saw me, he exhaled like he had been holding his breath the whole time. How did it go? He asked. It is over, I said. She is still convinced she is right. But I told her where the line is, and I meant it. He took my hand, laced our fingers together. We are going to be okay, he said. For the first time since the party, I believed him. But the fallout was only getting started. I expected silence after that, a day or two of peace while everyone licked their wounds. Instead, less than an hour after we got back to Dallas, my phone rang. My father's name lit up the screen. Noah looked at me. You want to answer? Yes, I said. I owe him the truth. Hey, Dad. There was a long inhale on the other end. Jordan, he said, voice rougher than I remembered. Your mother told me her version. I would like to hear yours. That alone made my chest ache. He was not calling to scold. He was asking for my side. What did she say? I asked quietly. That she was trying to save you from a user, he replied. That you cut her off for caring too much. That Noah is living off you and planning to take half of everything you own the second he gets the chance. I made a sound that was half laugh, half sob. She left out a few details, I said. I told him everything. I read some of the messages aloud. I described the boxes in the hallway, the lock changed the apartment in Phoenix, the money, the phase 2 plans, the line about making me look unstable so people would believe her. There was a long, stunned silence on the other end. She actually wrote that he asked, finally, voice hoarse. Yes, I said, I have it saved, all of it. He let out a breath that sounded like defeat. I thought she was exaggerating when she first told me, he said slowly. She has always had a flair for drama, but I did not imagine this. You did not know about the money, I asked. No, he said. She handles most of the accounts. I just sign things. That is on me. I should have paid more attention. This is not your fault, I said. She hid her worst ideas from everyone. I let her hide them, he replied. That is going to change. What are you going to do? I asked. Silence again. When he spoke, his voice had a steadiness I had rarely heard when it came to my mother. I am going to divorce her, he said. I will not spend the rest of my life with someone who would try to destroy our daughter's happiness just to prove a point. Tears blurred my vision. Noah touched my shoulder gently, a question in his eyes. I nodded and put the call on speaker so he could hear. She is going to spin it, Dad continued. She will say I am abandoning her after decades of marriage. She will say you turned me against her. But I know the truth, and so do you. Are you okay? I asked. No, he said honestly. But I will be. I have an old friend who is a lawyer. I will call him. I will get copies of everything from you. We will protect you and your sister and any inheritance you might have someday from her. Impulses. For the first time since the party, I felt something like real revenge, not petty, not cruel. Justice. Consequences. Karma finally noticing the ledger. Thank you, I whispered. After we hung up, Noah pulled me into his arms. You okay? He asked into my hair. I do not know yet, I said. But I know I am not crazy. I know I am not overreacting. That matters. Later that afternoon, the doorbell rang. Noah checked the peephole and frowned. It is Lauren, he said. She looks wrecked. I opened the door. My sister stood there with swollen eyes, makeup smeared shoulders hunched like she was trying to make herself smaller. Jordan, she choked out. Can I please talk to you? I stepped aside. She came in, twisting her hands together. I am so sorry, she blurted before I could say anything. I swear I did not know how bad it was. I thought Mom was just paranoid like always. She told me you and Noah were fighting. She said I needed to go check on the condo while you were at the party, make sure nothing had been damaged because he was upset. I raised an eyebrow. She told you Noah might damage my place? Lauren nodded, shame flooding her face. I should have known better, she said. But I just did what she asked. I took the key. I got in the car. When I got to the door, I froze. I could not put the key in. It felt wrong. And she kept texting telling me to hurry, that this was important, that I always hesitate, and that is why I never get anywhere in life. That sounded exactly like our mother. When she sent the message to Noah by mistake, I was sitting in the parking lot. Lauren continued. I saw his name pop up at the top of the chat. I ran back inside the restaurant. I told her she had messed up. She freaked out. She told me to stay quiet and let her handle it. And you did, I said. Not cruel, just factual. Tears slid down her cheeks. Yes, she whispered. I am not blameless. I went along with too much for too long. But I swear if I had known she was paying Brianna, if I had known about the phase 2 stuff, I would have said something sooner. Noah spoke up, voice gentle. I believe you did not know everything he said, but you saw enough to know Mom is willing to hurt Jordan for control. You will have to choose a side now. Lauren nodded, shoulders shaking. I already did, she said. Dad called me. He told me he is divorcing her. I told him I would help however he needed. I will talk to your lawyer if you want. I will tell a judge what she asked me to do. That was the moment I realized my mother's revenge had backfired in the most thorough way possible. She had tried to isolate me from Noah. Instead, she isolated herself from her husband and both daughters. I appreciate that, I said quietly. And I love you. But I need you to understand something. If you keep taking her calls when she trashes me, if you repeat her stories without checking with me, if you let her use you as a messenger in this family drama, I will pull back from you too. I will not, she said, fierce through her tears. I am done being her little assistant. I am done being the good daughter who smooths things over. I am so tired. I believed her. People who are truly done sound a certain way. We hugged, both of us, shaking both of us, grieving a version of our family that had never actually existed, but felt real in childhood memories. The next step was obvious and terrifying in equal measure. We had to talk to Brianna. The plane to Phoenix felt too bright, too loud, too full of people who were not flying toward a confrontation with an unwilling accomplice in their mother's emotional heist. Noah sat by the window, headphones around his neck, fingers laced with mine. Neither of us said much. There was not much left to say. We landed after dark and drove to a new apartment complex on the edge of Scottsdale. The address Lauren had pried from a panicked text exchange with our mother before Diane blocked her. The place looked like an advertisement. Smooth stucco, manicured landscaping, a glowing pool. I could almost see my mother's satisfaction as she wired the money a safe, pretty cage built for someone she wanted to install in my place. We buzzed the unit. After a long pause, the door downstairs clicked. We climbed the stairs in a silence that hummed. Brianna opened the door on the third knock. She looked smaller than I remembered. Softer, yes, but not in a fairy tale way. In a tired I have been through it way. She wore leggings and an oversized tea hair pulled into a messy knot. Her eyes went wide when she saw Noah, then wider when she saw me behind him. Jordan, she whispered. I did not think you would actually come. We almost did not, I said. But we need to hear this from you, face to face. She stepped aside. The apartment was nice. New furniture, tasteful rug, neutral art. All the signs of a place decorated quickly with someone else's money. I know why you are here, she said, standing near the couch, arms wrapped around herself. And you are right. I took the money, I talked to your mother, I let myself get pulled into something horrible. Start from the beginning, Noah said, please. She nodded, throat bobbing. Your mom messaged me out of the blue in the summer, she said. Said she had gotten my number from an old mutual friend. She said she had always liked me, that she had been thinking about me since that barbecue we all went to years ago. I thought it was strange, but I was in a bad place. My divorce had just finalized. I was living with a roommate I could barely stand. I felt like a failure. That lined up with what my mother had written. A vulnerable woman, recently divorced, financially unstable, perfect for exploitation. She told me you and Noah were having problems, Brianna continued, that you were obsessed with your shop, that he felt neglected and trapped. She said he had confided in her because he did not want to burden you. Noah shook his head slowly. I never said those things to her, he murmured. I believe you, Brianna said quickly. I did not then. I wanted to believe her. She made me feel chosen. She said she thought I was the right kind of woman for him, that I could give him the home he deserved, that I was the kind of partner who would put him first. There it was again, the fixation on women who shrink themselves as the only acceptable choice. What about the money, I asked. She offered, Brianna said, flushing. I did not ask. She wired me money in chunks, said it was to help me start over, said she did not want money to be the reason I missed out on a second chance. I told myself it was a loan. I told myself once Noah and I were together, I would pay her back. I told myself a lot of things. Did you plan to sleep with him? I asked bluntly. Noah stiffened beside me. Brianna's eyes filled with tears. At first I told myself I just wanted to talk, she said, to see if there was still something there. But your mother, she coached everything. What to wear, how to act. She sent me messages at midnight telling me what to say when he showed up broken from the breakup she was engineering. Somewhere along the way, I realized I had become a prop in her revenge fantasy. But I had already taken the money, signed the lease, bought the furniture. I was in too deep and I did not know how to back out. That is not an excuse, I said. No, she agreed. It is not. I am not asking you to forgive me. I just want you to know I am not the architect here. I am one of the messes she made. What did she tell you about the timeline? Noah asked. Brianna swallowed. She said the breakup would happen on your fiancé's birthday, she said. That she and your sister would be in town, that there would be some kind of incident. She said she had a plan to push you out of the condo so you would need somewhere to stay. She told me she would call when you were ready to talk. I was supposed to be here waiting with stocked groceries and clean sheets and a sympathetic ear. The simplicity of the trap made me dizzy. Separate him from me cast me as unstable. Present a safe, pre-approved alternative. A neat revenge story with my mother as the narrator and me as the villain. Why did you not come to Dallas for the party? I asked. She laughed, a short, broken sound. Because 2 weeks before that, she scared me, Brianna said. She started talking about how people always believe mothers, how she could tell anyone you had been unstable enough to justify pushing him away. She talked about making you look bad like it was just strategy. I realized she was not just hurt. She was unhinged. I told her I was having second thoughts. She snapped, said I was ungrateful, that she had invested in me, that I owed her. That sounded painfully familiar. I started saving everything Brianna went on. Messages, screenshots, bank records. I thought if this blows up, I do not want her to be able to pin it all on me. When I got the text from her after your party, just the words, "This is not over," I blocked her number. Noah and I exchanged a look. She messaged us the same thing I said. Brianna's shoulders slumped. I will send you everything I have, she said. You can give it to your lawyer. If it helps you get a restraining order, if it helps your dad in the divorce, if it helps anyone keep her at arm's length, it is the least I can do. What about the money? Noah asked. I can start paying it back, she said miserably. It will take me years, but keep it, he said, surprised at his own answer. We both turned toward him. Are you serious? I asked. He nodded, eyes never leaving Brianna's. Use it for therapy, he said. Use it to get as far away from my mother-in-law as you can. Just stay out of our lives. No more reaching out, no more stories, no more involvement. That is the only payback I want from you. Brianna's face crumpled. I can do that, she whispered. I promise. When we left the desert, air felt dry and clean. On the flight home, Noah leaned his head against mine. I hate that she used someone's weakness like that, he said. I hate that she used mine, I replied. My love for you, my old loyalty to her. Phones back on after landing. Dozens of messages, from friends, from unknown numbers, from my mother via a different phone than the one I had recorded that morning. You ungrateful children have no idea what sacrifices I made. This is not over. I stared at the words for a long moment, then I blocked the number. This is over, I said softly. Noah nodded. Now we make sure it stays that way. 2 weeks later, Noah and I sat across from my lawyer, a man named Patrick, who had helped me incorporate my shop and navigate business contracts. He listened without interrupting as we laid everything out. When we finished, he leaned back and let out a low whistle. I have seen some family drama, he said, but this is comprehensive. Do we have enough to get a restraining order? I asked. Yes, he said without hesitation. Multiple instances of harassment, an attempted lockout of your partner from a property you solely own, coordinating with a third party to interfere with your relationship, threatening messages. We have documentation, we have witnesses, we have a clear pattern. What do we do? Noah asked. You start by staying no contact, Patrick said. Block every new number she uses. Save every letter, every email, every bouquet, every voicemail. Log dates and times. If she shows up anywhere you are, especially your home or your business, call the police. Do not argue. Do not negotiate. Let the paper trail build. If she is as obsessed with control as you say, she will not be able to resist forcing your hand. He was right. In the months that followed, my mother tried to push herself back into my life nearly 50 times. Handwritten letters on heavy stationery, emails from new addresses with subject lines like, "Read this if you still love me." Voicemails full of sobbing and blame. A bouquet delivered to the shop with a note that read, "You are confused. I forgive you." The worst was the day she walked into my shop in person. I was under a lifted truck, hands slick with oil, mind focused on a stubborn leak when my apprentice called my name. Jordan, there is a lady out here who says she is your mother." I rolled out on the creeper and sat up. There she was, standing in the middle of the concrete bay in heels and a cream blouse like she was visiting a school instead of the workplace of the daughter she had tried to sabotage. Ava. She started using the wrong name in my head because somewhere deep inside, I was still replaying every story like a Reddit post, like something that happened to someone else. Then I remembered who I was. Jordan. Jordan, she corrected herself. We need to talk. I did not stand up. I stayed on the creeper looking at her from ground level. Call the police, I told my apprentice. My mother's eyes flew wide. Do not you dare, she hissed. I drove all this way to fix things. You are not going to humiliate me like that. You humiliated yourself when you tried to evict my fiancé from my condo, I said. You are trespassing. Leave or wait for the officers. She sputtered, tears springing instantly to her eyes. You are my daughter, she said. You owe me a conversation. I owe you nothing, I replied. She tried to step closer to put a hand on my boot. Noah, who had been in the office working remotely that day, appeared beside her like he had been summoned. Do not touch her, he said, voice quiet but absolute. My apprentice held up his phone. They are on their way, he told me. My mother saw the seriousness in his face and finally backed away. This is not over, she hissed again, backing toward the door. Karma will catch up with you. She was right in a way. Karma did catch up. To her. Slowly, methodically, with paperwork and consequences, instead of the dramatic scenes she seemed to crave. Patrick filed for a restraining order. My father moved ahead with the divorce. He used the evidence we gave him to argue that she had wasted marital assets on a vendetta. Their social circle, once composed of book club friends and church acquaintances, heard the story not from me but from her own bragging before it all blew up. Friends stopped calling. Some confronted her. Some quietly stepped back. Isolation. The thing she had tried to impose on me settled around her instead. In the middle of all that, Noah and I made a choice. We went to the courthouse on a rainy Thursday with Mia and Chris as witnesses. I wore a simple dress and my work boots. Noah wore a button-down with a grease stain on the cuff he had not noticed. We held hands and said vows that felt heavier and more real than any big ceremony could have. We promised to protect what we build together, to keep our boundaries even when family drama tried to erase them, to choose each other over and over in the face of fear, manipulation, and injustice. There was no first dance, no tiered cake, no speeches, just a quiet, fierce commitment and a certificate filed with the state. Never have I felt more like I was taking revenge on every expectation that said a woman like me needed her mother's approval to be legitimate. That night in our condo, with the new locks and the old couch, Noah rested his head on my lap while a game played quietly on the television. Our dog, because yes, at some point in the chaos we had adopted a goofy rescue mutt named Diesel, snored at our feet. The peace in that moment was louder than any apology my mother could have offered. Months into the no contact as life settled into new rhythms, shop home therapy sessions for both of us, dinners with my dad in his new condo. Mia sat across from me at the kitchen table scrolling on her phone. "You know," she said slowly, "if you ever wanted to tell the story, the internet would lose its mind." "The internet does not need to know my family's business," I replied. "Maybe not," she said. "But other women need to know they are not crazy when their mothers weaponize love like this. And you deserve to take back the narrative from Diane's version. Call it revenge, call it justice, call it clearing your own name. It would help people." I thought about the women who came into my shop and apologized for asking questions. About the customers who told me about mothers who dismissed their careers, partners who belittled their work, siblings who exploited their stability. About every story on forums like Pro Revenge and Raised by Narcissists that I had read late at night, heart-pounding in recognition. So one night after Noah went to bed, I opened my laptop and started typing. I wrote about the party, about the wrong text, about the boxes in the hallway and the lock that would not turn, about the group chat and the money and the apartment in the desert, about my father's quiet strength, my sister's shaking apology, Brianna's frightened honesty, about lawyers and locks and a courthouse wedding, about the strange, soft relief of finally choosing myself over the obligation to keep peace at any cost. I posted it anonymously in a subreddit for long-form stories of betrayal and revenge and unexpected justice. I turned off notifications, half expecting it to vanish into the void. By morning, there were thousands of comments. People were furious on my behalf. They called my mother a villain. They called her unwell. They called her the architect of her own downfall. A few joked about her sending the delete boyfriend instructions to the boyfriend himself, calling it advanced stupidity. Noah read them with me laughing for the first time in weeks in a way that reached his eyes. "Your mom wanted to control the narrative," he said. "Instead, the entire internet is calling her out." I did not take joy in her pain, but I did feel something like closure, knowing that other people saw what I had lived through and named it what it was: manipulation, betrayal, and a toxic family system finally cracking under its own weight. Word of the post made its way back to Arizona, not because I shared it, but because my mother had spent months talking about her mission at book club and brunches. When her friends read a story that lined up uncomfortably well with the details she had bragged about, they stopped seeing her as a martyr. They started seeing her as the problem. She lost her audience. Meanwhile, my life grew quieter and fuller. My dad started volunteering at a community center teaching kids basic home repair, so they would not be at the mercy of landlords and predatory contractors. Lauren moved to Seattle, got a job at a pediatric dental practice, and found a therapist who specialized in adult children of controlling parents. Noah and I kept working, kept loving each other, kept choosing small, steady joy over big performative gestures. We decorated our condo slowly. We spent holidays with chosen family. We built our own traditions. Thanksgiving dinners made entirely in cast iron pans, Christmas mornings with cinnamon rolls and sloppy dog kisses, birthday parties, where the only surprises were the good kind. Sometimes people ask me if I regret going no contact, if I miss my mother, if I ever feel guilty that revenge in my story looks like a locked door and a life lived well outside her control. Here is what I tell them. I miss the mother I thought I had. I miss the idea of a woman who would be on my side, who would love my partner because I love him, who would show up at my wedding to celebrate instead of scheme. That woman never existed. The real woman chose to betray my trust, sabotage my relationship, and gamble with my mental health, all while insisting she was the victim. I am done living under the will she wrote for my life. If you are listening to this, and something in your chest is tight, if you recognize yourself in the quiet dread of family drama, in the manipulation dressed as concern, in the endless expectation that you sacrifice your happiness to keep someone else calm, hear me. You are not crazy. You are not ungrateful. You are not selfish for wanting boundaries. You are allowed to want love that does not ask you to disappear. You are allowed to choose partners who see you as an equal, not a project. You are allowed to walk away from anyone, even a parent who treats your life like a game they get to win. My revenge was not slamming doors or screaming matches. It was building a life so solid that when someone tried to blow it up, the blast mainly damaged them. It was choosing therapy and lawyers and locks and a courthouse vow over chaos. It was telling my story before someone else could twist it into their favorite version of events. If this resonated with you, if you have lived your own version of this family drama, share it. Talk about it. Comment. Speak it out loud. The more we drag these secrets into the light, the less power they have. And if you want to hear more stories like this about betrayal and hidden truths about inheritance and favoritism and toxic family manipulation, about karma and payback and tables finally turning, stick around. There are so many of us out here telling the truth in our own voices, claiming our own narratives, writing our own wills for the futures we deserve.